So
And
everything
we are
good? It worked
live.
out good?
What's that? The
Hmm?
graduation thing?
Yeah, was
Yeah,
it cool or whatever
yeah,
it's
yeah.
called? I mean,
It's
the
a.
the
I guess they called it a promotion ceremony.
yeah, the promotion ceremony.
Yeah,
That
he's
go
going
good?
from fifth to sixth. Yeah, yeah, it went well.
Right on.
All right, we're live now. I'm gonna go ahead and You ready
Yeah,
for me to
why
run the intro? Or
why
you
don't I
still
see it?
sharing?
I'm still trying to find it. It takes a while before it immediately comes. It's not my
I
fault,
can't
man.
find them. These old
No,
things.
it's not that. No, it's not that. It's not
These
that.
doohickeys.
It's not that. It's not that. It's just it doesn't go up immediately.
Well, they got pills for that, dude.
Yeah, I got to give you that one. That was actually a pretty good one. I gotta let you have that one.
That's what I'm here for.
All right, man. I'm
All
ready when
right,
you are.
all
Yeah,
right. I'm gonna run the
I can't
intro, and
barely
we
see you though.
will.
You're in darkness, man. You're in darkness.
Right there we go. There we go. Is that better?
There you go.
All right.
That's much better. I want to see your pretty
I can
face.
be seen. All right, let me go ahead and start it.
Shut up and sit down.
Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to Dope and Dharma. This is the Dharma Time edition. And as always, I am the Dharma guy, and he is the one and only, the Dope Doctor. What's up, man?
What's up, brother?
We're
Doing good.
I think we're inadvertently matching today.
Are we? Oh,
I think so.
oh wow.
I have the Not Matters More Go
Yeah.
polo on. That's
So do
right.
I.
So we're if you're watching us live on either Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch, all of which can be found at just look up Dope and Dharma, and you'll find us. If you're watching on those, you can see that. Now I'm actually I'm hurt that you didn't even notice that I
Why?
didn't have a tank top on, because that's my uniform
Well,
is a tank top and cargo shorts, but I
it
have
kind
a
of happened
polo on
fast.
today.
This whole well, I mean,
Yeah,
we just got on and I was
we
on the
did.
phone and we're late and
We are a little bit late, so if you're
I was
watching us,
distracted. I was distracted.
if you're watching us live, we are 19 minutes late. That's because my 11-year-old son just graduated, got promoted, whatever you want to call it. He's leaving elementary and he's going to middle school, so he's going from fifth to sixth.
Right.
And I went to show my
Right.
support and experience that with him and whatnot. So, and I thought it was going to be
Right.
faster than what it was, and it took a considerable amount of time. And I'm here, and we're getting started. Both of you need to
Hey,
get
Marissa wants
in
to snap
frame so I can snap a picture.
picture.
Oh, we are both in frame now, sort of, kind of.
There you go.
And Ellie Lawton said hi. She's watching us on Facebook. Hey, how you doing? All right, so let's get started.
Yeah.
The thing I noticed, I think you were on your little NASCAR trip, and
My little NASCAR trip.
that's right. It wasn't a big trip. It was only a couple days. Anyways, I sent you a message which you ignored, and I was asking you, hey, we should probably do something for Mental Health Awareness Month, because I didn't realize. Yes, you ignored me. I didn't realize
I did?
that it was mental health. Yeah, I sent you like 2 or 3 messages, and you just completely
Are you
left me on
serious?
red. Yes.
Oh, you're. Let me see. When?
I don't know. Whatever. When you were on your little NASCAR trip, it was. I don't know.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah,
Friday.
exactly.
Oh, that was probably my travel day or something,
Here
man.
comes the excuses.
I was at the track all day.
Uh-huh.
The track all
Anyways,
day.
but I did message you, and I was like, hey, we should probably do something on Mental Health Awareness Month, because that's what May is.
Yeah.
And they're so hard to keep track of, right? There's a month for everything.
Oh, man,
But
there's
mental health is right up our wheelhouse, though. So like we kind of need to touch on that.
right.
And so I think we should cover today kind of mental health as a whole, right? Like, what is it? Why is it important? That kind of stuff. For me personally, I'm hesitant to say, especially after I've gone through all this like heart stuff.
Right.
I'm hesitant to say that mental health is the most important health out there. But if not the most, it's equal to, right? Because mental health. Oh gosh, dude, you and I have both seen so many people struggling with just mental stuff, right? Like, and for me, when I say mental health, that encompasses like our emotions, that encompasses our outlook, that encompasses our affect, it encompasses all of that, right? If you're upset, if you're depressed, if you're feeling loved, if you're
Mhm.
feeling angry, if you're feeling anxiety, if you're just not feeling it, whatever it might be. That's all what I define as mental health. And my word, dude, is there anything more important though? I mean, granted, if your ticker's not working,
Zero.
then but gosh, dude, I think mental health makes the life worth living, right? Because I've seen people who have, excellent mental health, even if physically they're not doing well, they're still good. And I think they attribute that to a good mental health situation, right?
Right.
Um,
Right.
and so for me, like
Zero though.
zero what?
Oh, I was answering you. You said, "Is there anything more important?"
Oh,
Zero.
I kind of feel the same, man. Like I don't want to disregard physical health because I know that's important. You got to have it. Um, but I think mental health makes life worth living. Mental health, being you know well mentally, just makes every day worth getting up for. As an example, I had a conversation with my wife last night. Excuse me. One of the things I said to her, we were talking, and I had to reiterate to her how much power she has over my mental health, and she was shocked, I guess, because I apparently I've never had this conversation with her, but um, I told her, I was like,
Mhm.
look, man, during the days that you and I are doing well, and like I feel loved and seen by you, are some of my best days. And she was like, she couldn't wrap her head around that because she was like, well, she felt like it was almost like codependent or something. It's like, no, it's not codependent. That just means I'm vulnerable with you. And those days that you're taking care of my vulnerabilities are some of my best days. Like you're my person. Um,
Mhm.
and so that mental health stuff, man, that outlook really does make the days worth living, man. It does. And I think that uh, as a country here in America, we're getting better at acknowledging the importance of mental health. But I think we got a long ways to go, man. What do you think? Nope. Did we lose you again already? Your internet is back to sucking, isn't it? Here we go. You're completely frozen,
I
as
don't want
usual.
to over anything. There we go. What is what would the show be like here at the office without some sort of disruption? Apparently they have to do all kinds of work in order to get me hardwired over here. But
Good
anyway,
times.
I'll try this again. Um, I think anything mental health, any psychology is more important than anything physical. And I'll tell you why. Look, I'm going to prove to you that we all know this to be true. Is Mike Tyson not the biggest, baddest mofo that ever existed when you go back in history when he was on top of his game? Was he not the biggest, baddest brother to even walk in front of you? Would
I'd say still today. Dude, you keep going in and out, man.
well, back then when he was at his height of his career, nobody could stand
Wow.
out there. Didn't even last.
Dude, your internet is almost unbearable at this point.
Yeah. Anyway, when he started having issues in his relationship with Robin Givens,
Right.
what happened?
I mean, he went to prison. He went to prison, and I mean, a lot of people supported him. A lot of people let him go too. And you're frozen again, so I'm feeling time. This is awesome. Yeah, did we lose you completely this time? So
To somebody,
we should have a show dedicated to just how bad your internet is there at the office. It is atrocious, man. It is really bad. But I'm gonna go ahead and fill in the space and talk about mental health while we're waiting on him to whatever he's doing. Yeah, I don't know where he was going with the Mike Tyson reference, but I will say though that I know for me, I I didn't respect mental health. It didn't really mean anything to me when I don't know, growing up, I think a lot of my issues were attributed to mental health, even though I didn't see it that way. I just thought, everybody needed to shut up and leave me alone. But as I got older, as I got, started having kids and whatnot, what turned my whole life around wasn't my extenuating circumstances. It wasn't the things around me that changed as much as my outlook. And my outlook, obviously, I found spirituality, hence the Dharma Guy and the Dharma Time show. Um, Finding spirituality kind of really set the tone for me, man. Um, Once my outlook on things changed and I found that inner peace, oh, look at that. We lost him completely. So it's just me. Hey. Anyways, uh, once I found, my inner peace and I started dealing with my mental health on a different level, I started making it a priority. Just everything changed. Like I said, the things around me didn't change. My outlook on them changed, which then almost started attracting better stuff to me, right? It's like attraction rather than promotion type thing. Um, but anyways, so that's what we're talking about today. I'm sure at some point the dope doctor will come back. His internet is atrocious over there. In the meantime, we have some comments here. Marissa, what are you saying? She says, "I want the numbers of, I want the numbers of your cardiologist and endocrinologist and the CEO Spectrum. Um, Both of them have some New York attitude coming their way. Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, what she's referring to is my cardiology stuff. I had a heart problem back in. Oh, look, he's back. I had a heart problem back in February, and we're still trying to get to the bottom of it. And then I actually have believe it or not, I have an appointment tomorrow with my endocrinologist to talk. Oh, look at that. To talk about some of the other endocrinology issues, I guess, from the endocrine system. Anyways, looks like the dope doctor is now back. Look at that. Hey,
It's crap, man. It's dude. I'm telling you, I'm so frustrated with this, but this is my
this is challenging your mental health. I can see it all over your face.
yeah
I like
yeah.
it.
We're in a man. I'm in the business of telehealth here. Do you understand? So this cable company that can't figure out its Wi-Fi scenario. This is a challenge. This is our business that they're affecting. It's gone in and out all day. First of all,
Wow.
it was already weak. We had these issues in New Smyrna, which was why I couldn't have, good solid business in New Smyrna. And now in Sanford, I mean, really, Spectrum. Come on, man, it's
Right.
ridiculous. This is
I
challenging.
just,
See,
but
this is
I
why
think
mental health
that's
is important.
exactly
This is why it's
that. I
important.
mean,
Because
yeah,
if I didn't have good mental health, I'd be throwing stuff. I'd be, I'd be looking for someone's dog to kick. And I don't even like kicking dogs. I love dogs. I would never kick a dog. But,
right.
this is when you wanna punch something. You wanna hit something.
Well, I think that's that's the point, right? That's when you were off. That was the point that I was making. Was early on in my life, I had,
Right.
like it just, I don't know. I was angry, and
Right.
the last person that I blamed for that was me. Right? Like I
Right.
blamed. It was my stupid job. It was my stupid boss. It was my stupid neighbor. It was my stupid this. It was all these things, and
Right.
and what I didn't realize until I started getting into spirituality was it was stupid me, right? It was my mental health. It was my outlook on things. It was my expectations, my judgment, my criticisms, my anxiety, my fears, all these things that I just didn't have a handle on was ruining my life. It was ruining my peace, right? I shouldn't say life. It was ruining my peace. And what spirituality gave me, and in turn my mental health gave me, was that inner peace. So it's not like my whole life is fantastic and phenomenal. I mean, like right now we're trying to do a show, which is essentially our livelihood, and we're having all sorts of internet issues. So like that's an example of things don't work perfectly for us. The difference being
Right.
my mental health and your mental health. We're in a place now
Right.
where we adjust and we kind of deal with it. If our mental health wasn't where it is, it could completely derail our entire day.
Right.
And that's why I agree with you. I think mental health is extremely important, and we all kind of know it, but we don't act that way, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it allows you to deal with really difficult situations. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It really allows you to deal with the adversities that are going to happen in your life. There's going to be things that happen that are unforeseen, that are unexpected, that are pretty crippling in a lot of ways. You know what I mean? And yet, if you are healthy psychologically, then you can get through those a lot easier than if you're already worn and torn psychologically, if you're already questioning yourself psychologically, if you're already defeating yourself psychologically, if you're already feeling like a victim and feel underappreciated and feel unworthy, then all those things will play against you in times of need. And you're going to need you. You need you a lot more than you need other people. And so you have to be there for yourself at all times. So if you allow outside scenarios and situations to affect your mental health to the point where you're not there for yourself, then you're going to fall like a house of cards with any kind of stimuli, any kind of situation, any kind of thing that you deem negative or you deem problematic. And we have to be people of solutions, right? Our brain is constantly finding solutions, right?
Yeah.
So if your brain is lacking a certain substance, it will create that substance, or at least a pseudo substance, for you to get through the situation. You don't have to go out and seek it. I mean, I know some of you do. You go out and try to self-medicate to seek it, but you don't have to. Your brain is constantly rebalancing and recalibrating to kind of figure out scenarios. Well, it is your job to keep your brain, your psychological mental health as fed as possible. So I absolutely do believe in people taking care of themselves, and not just because I'm a counselor, not because psychology is probably at the top of my list, because that's my forte, as far as that's my role in your life, to help you with that. I just think that without psychological wellness, things come tumbling down. But to be fair, my real answer would be that they're all equal. I believe in the four
Of
quadrants.
course.
I believe in physiology, psychology, spirituality, and physical, and I think they all have their equal value. But since my role is in the psychology nature, that's where I come from. That's where I come and give you feedback to. Just like in spirituality, that you have the trinities of the world, and you have the rabbis and priests and the reverends and the preachers. In the physiology world, you have the people that provide vitamins. You have physicians that can medicate you. You have nutritionists, and in the physical world, you have also people like Trinity, which are master level trainers. You have people that help you with your physical health. Everybody has their role.
Yeah. I too am biased. I think we've discussed this before. In the four quadrants, I think I'm at least somewhat involved in the three of the four, pretty heavily.
Hmm.
But I
Hmm.
too, if I had to pick one, man, I think spirituality / psychology is right up there. Only
Hmm.
because I'm obviously practicing Buddhism, and so the number one thing is our ability to prevent ourselves from suffering, and the only way to do that is your relationship to suffering, which is a mental one. So
Hmm.
I'm extremely focused on the mental health aspect of things. If nothing
Right.
else, I've seen the benefit it's played in my own life, and people's lives around me. Right, like
Hmm.
we both combine know so many people struggling with various things, various mental afflictions, if you will, right? Be it some of the people we've helped in the addiction world,
Right.
who are struggling with substances and all the things that comes with it. But then also just people we know, friends and family, who maybe struggle with, why can't I do this, or why am I always doing that, or why. That's all mental health. That's all how we perceive things. That's all how we interpret it. That's all how we kind of, like you said before, put it in our board of directors. It's in our head and make votes. That's mental health. That's that process. Um, but it sickens me sometimes, if I'm honest, that it, it appears, right. And this is anecdotal. I don't have any data to back this up. I'm just my own eyes. It sickens me to think that it's so underrepresented or underappreciated, right? Like it seems to
Hmm.
be the last thing that people talk about or focus on as far as help, right? It's always like, if you come to somebody and you tell them, hey, you really should do this, this, and this, it's never, you know what, you're right. I'm gonna start that tomorrow. It's always, oh yeah,
Right.
but I don't have time for that, or I can't do this, or
Right.
like it gets put on the
Right.
back burner so much. And yet we all kind of deep down know how important mental health really is. But it's like it never gets put on the front burner until something bad happens, right? Like
Right.
if you get diagnosed with something, or a major event, a catastrophic thing takes place, then all of a sudden mental health starts to become a little bit more of a focus. But even then, it's usually not to fix it, it's just to feel better right now. And once I feel better right now, then I go back to doing what I was doing and I go on with my day. And you know, as somebody who cares about my fellow human beings, it just makes me sad. It makes me sad that we
Mm.
don't put more of a focus on mental health. Because I think if we did
Right.
collectively put more of a focus, I think we would all be doing better. I really do.
Right. Well, I think we're getting there.
We are getting there.
I
I will
think
say that we are getting there.
we're getting there. But even then, I think that we're focused on it for biased reasons. I think that people tend to believe only certain people have mental health issues or are allowed to have mental health issues. And I'm going to explain what I mean by that, because I've seen a lot of people that want to protect the mental health. Uh, sensitivities of others, attack, berate, and be angry and abusive towards the people they feel have been the predators towards those people, or have been
Right.
the abusers to those people. And I think we like to promote that all individuals have a right to solid, healthy mental health. And all individuals have some sort of reasoning in their head. Now, you may not always agree with the reasoning, you may not like the reasoning, you may not like the way they portray themselves or they behave, but it doesn't make them less worthy of good, solid care and kindness and affection by those that have affection towards them. Now, remember, there's a lot of people that may disagree with us and disagree with you. That doesn't make them wrong. That just makes them the other half of the world,
My
you
friend, the
know. And
enemy.
it seems to always be the half. Yeah, it always seems to be the half, right? It always seems to be that half the world agrees with you and half the world doesn't. And if you just look at things through that glass, that kind of shade, then you are not going to simply always feel 100% right. It's better to look at it like half the world agrees with me and half the world doesn't.
Yeah.
Therefore, you don't come off as, man, that person's a real idiot, and all of us, we all see it, but that person doesn't. That's the only person that doesn't. No, now you're being the abuser. Now you're being harmful. And so it's really important that all of us respect everybody's mental health, regardless of position.
Yeah, and I have a great story actually that references that.
Okay.
Prior to this, before I get to the story, I'll say that you and I did touch on this a couple years back. There was a school shooting that happened, and everybody just really, really dumped on obviously the kid as well as an officer who didn't handle things the way that they thought he should have. And you and I did a show called "Compassion for the Shooter." And I think it pissed some
Right.
people off, but it illustrated the point that we're making right now, and that is everybody deserves it, right? Because hurt people hurt people. Let's just be honest.
Right.
But the story that it reminds me of, so I don't know how familiar you are with the whole Tibet China thing, but the Dalai Lama
Oh, man.
is Dalai Lama is based essentially out of Tibet. That's his homeland. But China is invading Thailand and kind of take, I think it's Thailand. Holy cow, my brain's not working. Either way, his hometown. No, Tibet,
Taiwan?
Tibet,
Oh,
Tibet,
okay, Tibet.
Tibet.
Yeah.
Sorry, man. I'm trying. We're in the speed racer mode because I know you got a hard stop. So, anyways, in Tibet is his homeland, and China and Tibet are at odds. China's essentially coming into Tibet and taking over. They're burning down a lot of monasteries. They're killing monks. They're doing all sorts of stuff that many people don't agree with. But what that caused was this mass migration, this mass exodus, if you will, of Buddhist monks and people of that ilk who lived in Tibet who are now leaving the country to find asylum elsewhere. Many of them are going into India to find solitude or asylum, and so this process is horrible. I mean, there's people are dying by the hundreds, and somebody asked the Dalai Lama how he's not like super angry and mad and wanting to hurt all these people from China who are murdering and killing his Tibetan neighbors and friends as well as taking over their homeland. And he basically said that he feels bad for them because the amount of karma that they're creating for themselves by doing these atrocious acts is going to suck basically. And I remember the interviewer was like completely dumbfounded. They couldn't understand on how the Dalai Lama felt bad for his people, but he also felt bad for the other people, right? Because in the spiritual world, more specifically Buddhism, we obviously believe in karma, like the karmic fruit, right? And when you do things, it's based more upon your intent rather than the outcome. And whatever that intent is, there's a karmic fruit, which is either positive or negative, essentially. Um, and so he was basically saying that like these things that these people are doing, going into to Tibet, doing all this stuff, is creating karma for themselves that they're going to have to deal with. And he didn't think anybody should have to deal with that. And when I first heard it, if I'm honest, I first heard it when I was early on in my spiritual practice, and it didn't make sense to me. I was like, screw that, dude. Like, you're coming into my area, killing all my people. Like, no, that's a problem. But as I've gotten older, as I've had kids, and as I've done these things, I had to stop and look like, wow, like that is the ultimate level right there when you can have compassion for everybody, not just yourself and not just the people that agree with you. And so that's something I've strived to. I'm better some days than others, obviously. But that is part of good mental health, right? Is part of mental health, if you will. And I think we should get into that before we get off here. Is like, what is it, and like, how do we take care of it? Like, how do we address it? And I'll start with, I think one of the first things to address it is to acknowledge that your perspective isn't the only perspective, and the other perspectives that are out there have just as much value as yours does. I think that's a key aspect to help good mental health, if you will. There's many of them, obviously, which we'll cover a couple if we can, but I think that's a good place to start, is understanding that your prism that you look through isn't the only one. There's other people who have their own histories, their own pains, their own traumas, their own victories, that they're looking through. And to them, that is their truth. That is how they see it. It doesn't mean that they're right. It doesn't mean that they're wrong. It just means it's valid to them. And I think when we understand that, it makes it easier to then treat people with kindness and respect and dignity, when you realize that their opinion matters just as much as yours does.
Right. And I like that. And one way I like to explain that is through music, because I think we can all respect music. I think pretty much most people have a type of music they prefer, right? And they say they're lovers of music. I love music, blah, 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 blah. And then when it comes to like a certain type of music, and I've heard this a lot, like people say, well, I hate country. I hate country music. It's like, okay, you may dislike that as your favorite, but when you talk like that, when you speak like that and think like that, what you're doing is saying that type of music has less value or is not as good. And there's some people that love that. And that
Yeah.
is what gives them all the same joy and good feelings that your music provides you, and everybody
Yep.
listens to music for different reasons, but basically the same. It's an outlet. It's a connectivity issue. It's someone else is thinking, feeling, or having the same emotions I'm having, and this is tapping into my emotions at a deeper level, and it allows me to feel it and express it differently. So just like you say, please respect other people's perspective or know that they have different perspectives. When you do it with music or through music, it allows you to see or hear what Trinity is saying at this moment. That country music has its place to them that like it. Emo music has its place to them that like it. Rap has its place to them that like it. And it's just like that with each musical class. You may not fully get it or like it or enjoy it. It may not do for you what it's doing for someone else, but it doesn't decrease its value. It's just not for you. And if you respect it like that, then it will make it much easier to tolerate other people who think differently than you.
Yeah, I 100% would agree with that. Your hard stop is what, 2:00, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so we got about 15 minutes. So this last 15 minutes, let's you and I collectively, right? Let's come up with our top three. The top three ways that we can look after our mental health, right? Let's see if we can agree on those three things. My first one, I'll say, and I'm pretty sure this is a simple one you'll agree with. So let's see if we can agree on number one. Number one is, if you have the ability, or if you have the funds, if you have the access somehow, some way, I think the number one thing you could do is to reach out for help, meaning somebody who is professionally trained and qualified to help you navigate, the brain and the personalities and things of that nature. I think that to me should be the number one. You can concur on that one?
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. Being a person that
Yeah.
is one of those people on the other end of the phone, I think that,
Of course.
look, if something's wrong with my car, I'm limited to my ability to fix that car. Whereas a mechanic is a trusted individual to fix that car, know what's wrong with that car, and it's no different with your brain. Yeah. So yes, I agree.
Yeah. So we agreed. Number one thing you could do for your mental health, for Mental Health Awareness Month, if and let me preface this by saying, don't wait till it's bad, right? The thing that blew me away when I heard about pre-marriage counseling, right?
Right.
People hear pre-marriage counseling and they're like, well, I don't need that. We're doing great. It's like, yeah,
Right.
but you don't have to only go to counseling when it's great or when it's bad. Like,
Right.
you can go to prevent it from being bad. So you don't have to wait until you have a crisis to go get help for mental health. Like,
Right.
you can always go to help mental health. If you're in a situation where things are doing pretty good, great. Go to a mental health professional if you
Right.
can, and figure out how to keep the party going. Like, what are you
Yeah.
doing right? How can, so you don't have to wait till a crisis like that. I think that's extremely important to put out there. It's the maintenance, right? Even for your car, you don't wait till your car is broke down on the side of the road before you change the oil. Like, you do maintenance along the way. So yes, number one, we agree. Reach out to a medical health professional if you can to get some guidance because it's a complicated thing. I don't know. The second one, I'm still going to, for me, let's see if you agree. For me, I think number two should be somehow some way of gathering information, I would think, for me. What I mean by that is, and I hear it a lot with the youth, right? The youths. So my kids are, I got a 20-some-year-old, I got a 17-year-old, I got so various ages, and they have friends, and I talk to them and their friends, and it seems to be, and I want to feel like I wasn't like this when I was 18, but I probably was. Um, they swear that they know everything. They swear that they can just figure it out, no matter what it is. I'll figure it out. I'll get through it. And I try to explain to them the thought process of the same thinking with the same knowledge and tools that got me into this problem is probably not going to get me out of this problem. So therefore, like I explained to my daughter and her friend the other day when we were talking, I said the first thing I do when I run into an issue or a problem and I'm dealing with, the first thing I do is I look outside myself for knowledge. I ask people who are in my life who I respect or who I trust. I look up things. I look at resources that I trust and value, and I try to add to my knowledge base. Because obviously I didn't know what I was doing, because if I did, I wouldn't be in the situation I'm currently in. So I try to gather information and knowledge. I try to add to my knowledge base. Are you on the same path there? Do you think that's a worthy, venture?
Yeah, I like it. I have a different number two, so
Okay.
tell me when it's time for
Well,
that.
I'm
But
not putting these in any real order, but go ahead.
I'm not putting them in real order either. I just mean
Okay.
I have a different
Yeah.
top three.
No.
I would say. So
Yeah.
my
Let's
next
let's
one.
see.
Okay, so my next one would be take a step back. You have to take a step back. I think when you're right up in front of something like take a piece of art for instance. Like you don't see anyone go to a museum and just stick their nose right on the painting, right? They want if they want to admire the painting, they don't go stick their nose. Oh yeah, wow! Look at these beautiful lines. What a Mona Lisa! I love the Mona Lisa the way. No, they back up, a certain distance, and they just stare and they just let it speak to them. However it speaks to them, let it speak to them and admire. And we all see something differently in that art, right? We all just kind of
Right.
so I think you got to do that with your own life. I think that in order to really gauge how you're doing and how you're feeling, you got to kind of step away from your life just a little bit, whatever that means to you. That may mean meditation, that may mean prayer, that may mean just in solitude, that means whatever that is, but sit in silence and just be there and you're breathing only. You know what I mean? Like you have five senses and let all five senses just experience. Whatever those five senses are supposed to experience, just sit still and let those five senses experience and be present in the current moment. So I think that's mandatory to do on a regular basis. So that would be one of my top threes.
Yeah, I would agree with that one. I feel that those are, in my own way, I think that they're kind of similar. What I mean by, because you're getting more
Okay.
information that way. You're taking a step back,
Okay.
like the 30,000 foot view, right? Like you can't see the forest through the trees, kind of a thing. So I would
Right.
agree with that. Like I think we can mesh those two
Right.
together, and make that one. Um, and so we are running out of time. So I will say the third one. And for
Okay.
me, I gotta say this is probably the most important one. I should have put this number
Okay.
one, to be honest with you.
Okay.
For my own life, this was the most important one. For other people who I've ever made an impact on, this was also the most important one. And it sounds
Okay.
like so duh, but it needs to be said. You got to be teachable. You got to be willing to learn. You got to be willing to admit, hey, this isn't working. For me, I thought I knew everything, and I had to have a moment where I look back and realize my way's just not working. It's not all these other people. It's me. It's the way I'm looking at things. So I had to have a moment for me where I looked around and I became teachable. At that moment, I was able to listen and hear what was being said. Because prior to that, there's many people in my life that was giving me great information. They were all telling me the same thing that I've eventually learned. I just wasn't interested in hearing it. I wasn't teachable. I wasn't ready to hear what they had to say. For me personally, I had to have a moment that it hit me like a ton of bricks, and I realized, okay, I've got to change
Right.
something. And that for me was the moment I became teachable. And the thing I'm learning with like even my own kids and other people who we've talked to in the spiritual world and addiction and everything, you got to have at least a moment where you're teachable. You got to be willing to admit that your way isn't the only way or isn't even working at the moment. And I think that's easier said than done. I think we all think that they're that way, but when it comes down to it, we typically draw a line and retreat. And like, that's it. That's my thing. We might be open in certain things that we're not confident in, but we're all pretty confident in our own beliefs. And so that's when we kind of settle back in and get really obstinate and get defensive and everything else to criticism. And that's one of the things I pride myself on now in my life is I feel like I'm
Mhm.
very open, and I surround myself with people who are also very open. There's been many
Mhm.
times you and I, even as friends, have had conversations where we've critiqued one another, and we, instead of getting defensive, we're like, oh, you know what, damn, yeah, I kind of do. That makes us better. And so I think
Mhm.
being teachable is probably the most important one, because you can learn, you can hear all the
Yeah.
greatest stuff in the world, but if you're not willing to hear it, it's not going to do
Right.
anything.
Okay. And I agree with you. It's important. And just like even what Marissa's putting there, your best thing got you here. Yeah, that is exactly true. It makes you teachable to know that. However, being a counselor that often counsels people that aren't really there yet and not ready, and they first come in thinking there's no value, there's not going to be any value to this, and I really don't want this. I'm only doing this to appease the court or appease my mom or appease someone else. I do put that lower on the list, and what I would
Right.
put higher on the list for me personally is all right. So I'm gonna give you another visual. Okay. So everything that's pressurized has a release valve. Everything. So if you look at a propane tank, a nuclear reactor site, take the balloon that's getting all full, and then you kind of release it. Little, you got to release the pressure, because if you keep adding pressure to it, if you keep adding more to it, it'll explode. And we're no different. We are a pressurized animal, and so if you keep adding more pressure into
Yep.
it, even though you don't see it and you don't release it, it will explode. And all of us explode differently. Some of us explode internally where we hurt ourselves, and some of us explode externally where we hurt other people. But either way, it's the same type of explosion. So for me, in the top three would be whatever that release valve is for you. You have to find it. You have to do it. And we are
Yep.
blessed with that is given to us through our artistic expression. That is what the arts are all about. Whether you draw, write, sing, a color, paint, any of that stuff is artistic expression. And so it's very important for you to release it through that artistic expression. Now, the issue with releasing it and not processing it is when you have artists that are very troubled, so they create very good art. It was their expression. You're like, man, the Kurt Cobains of the world, where you go, man, that's a phenomenal, but they didn't
Right.
process it with someone, which is your past number one, which I agree with you, getting help. Then they explode anyway. That's because just by exposing it doesn't mean that it's going to keep on building up, because you're not processing it as well. You're not learning how to look at it through a different paradigm shift. You're not doing the paradigm shift or looking at it through a different prism. So you still require the processing, but it's got to come out. You got to find that release valve that you use, and you got to do it daily, because if you don't do the release daily, then you're going to get real confused through the frustration of being overwhelmed in the emotion. And then you're not going to be able to want this, and you're not going to be able to seek out the help, and you're not going to be able to care for yourself. So it's very important to constantly have that release.
Well, are we losing you again? Yeah, man, even your phone. There we go. You're back. Yeah, you know what? I like that one as well. Oh, your audio is completely gone now. Um, I'm gonna, so as the Dharma guy on Dharma Time, I'm gonna make an amendment. I'm gonna use my powers here, and I'm gonna say we're doing the top four instead of just the top three, because we can do that. So we got the top four, because I like that one as well. The problem is there's so many of them, right? Like when you know the path, then everything on that path just seems important, right? Because you can't remove part of it. It's like it's like a chain. You can't take all the link. You can't take a link out. So you're looking right into the camera, aren't you? So anyways, so yeah, I agree with him. So we're gonna do top four instead of top three. Um, Number one, make sure you reach out for some help or reach out for some guidance if you can, if you're in a position to do so. And that guidance looks different ways for different people. The other one I would say is the second one. God, my memory's bad now. I don't remember the second one. I'm like, your memory is contagious to me. I know one of them was I said being teachable. You also said to the release valves. It's just funny because I'm looking at your frozen picture on the screen here. Um, I can't hear you either. Your audio's
Am I
completely
back?
gone. Oh, there you go. Now you're back.
No?
You're back. Yeah,
Can you hear
you're
me?
back. Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, perfect. Okay. I was trying to fix the trigger. Look at man.
It's a blooper filled day.
I'm gonna just woosah, woosah,
Yeah,
woosah.
woosah. Well, I know you got a hard stop in a couple of minutes, so I'm gonna go ahead and just wrap it up, and I'll wrap it
Yeah,
up for both of us
I'll wrap it
since
up.
you're
I'll wrap it
you're
up.
having technical
Yeah,
difficulties.
go for it.
First off, once again, thank you everybody for watching and for listening. If you want to catch us live, we're live on Monday evenings from 8 to 9 p.m. and we're live on Tuesdays typically from 1 to 2, and then Fridays, of course, from usually 12 to 1. Mondays is going to be more of the couch live. We talk about addiction related issues and family stuff. Tuesdays, of course, is spirituality, talk about happiness and things of that nature. And then, of course, Fridays is a little bit more free. Fridays, we'll talk more about political stuff or sports or whatever it might be. But at any given moment, you can follow us on social media. We together are at Dope and Dharma. He is at the Dope Doctor. I am at the Dharma Guy. You can look us up on any of those platforms that we're on: Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. We're even on Twitter, I think, now. Same thing, Dope and Dharma. You'll find us there. If you got an idea for a topic, reach out, hit us up. We would love to converse.
Right. Well,
So yeah.
before you do that,
Oh,
for the
go ahead.
top four, because you still should do the top four. Now,
We did.
I was listening to it, and you were struggling with that. No, did you do the whole four? Because we did say
Yeah, I couldn't
seek
remember
help,
them.
right?
Yeah, seek help was the
gotta
first
seek
one we
help.
both agreed on.
Right. We both agreed on perspective. I just said it one way in regards to you got to take a step back, and you said, you
Yeah,
know,
I said
that
seek
you gotta,
seek
you know,
information
things
outside
perspective.
yourself. Yeah.
Right,
So that
right.
was
And
the second one.
I say take a step back and soak it all in. And then the third one, I said you have to have that release valve. You have to have some
Yes.
way to release it so that the emotion doesn't overwhelm you to the point where you can't make clarity of thought and clarity of decision.
Correct. And then the fourth one is be teachable. Hear the lessons that are being taught. Yeah, I mean, and to be honest with you, if you and I talk for another hour, we could probably come up with 15 more, I'm sure.
Oh, easily.
But I think those are good four to start with, man. I do. And I think it's worth it. You're worth it. You know, if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, you deserve happiness. You deserve to have clarity in mental health. But sometimes you're going to have to work for it. Sometimes you're going to have to put some effort. You're going to have to look, learn, listen. You're going to have to apply yourself. Like, if you're expecting it to come knocking on your door and do it for you, it's probably not going to work that way. You know, you're going to have to make a little effort. Yeah, man. But it's worth it. And I promise you, it's so much easier than you think it is. You know, if you're struggling, it seems like such a daunting task to address hurts and pains and traumas and things, stuff that's been sitting in there. But it's not as hard as you think it is. It really isn't. Especially when you get to the end and you get the feeling of peace inside. It is so much better than I ever thought it was when you start to have that inner peace. So my final thought for May being Mental Health Month, it's great that we have a green ribbon in May for mental health, but I think every month should be Mental Health Month. I think it's important. I think it is probably the most important thing because your mental health kind of dictates the rest. Your mental health dictates how you handle and how you deal with all the other things, including the physical health. So if you haven't done so yet, today's a great opportunity to take a moment out and do something for your mental health. Whatever that is for you, maybe it's just listening to the show. Who knows? We got plenty more on YouTube and whatnot. But do something. You know, you're worth it. You deserve it. You'll thank yourself later for it, and the people around you will thank you for it as well. So I think that's all we got for today. I know you got a hard stop. You got some stuff to do. Some of your like Mr. I'm Celebrity. I gotta do things stuff.
I gotta go to Jacksonville, brother. I gotta go speak in Jacksonville tonight, brother. That's
right on. Right on. And I gotta go train a client.
So
that's all we got.
All right.
So now that you know better, do better. Peace.
Happy Memorial Day.